A very good evening to you and welcome to our primetime news. I'm Sandhu Ferdinando.
And I'm Nicola De Souza. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca granted a full presidential pardon. 6 new cabinet, state and deputy ministers sworn in. Investigation underway with the cooperation of the Treasury into the allegation that public funds were deposited into an account maintained by Gotabaya Rajapaksa. We do not have the sufficient resources to conduct investigations, a statement from the chairman of the Bribery Commission. UNP MP Palitha Thevara Peruma remanded. Standing Committee of the Anglican Consultative Council rejects allegations by former Bishop of Kurunegala that they cater to the diaspora.
And on our top story tonight, former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca has been granted a full presidential pardon by President Maithripala Sirisena. Thereby there is no legal obstruction preventing Sarath Fonseca from obtaining his due benefits. Newsfirst contacted him over the phone.
Finally, the truth has prevailed, although the tyrannical leader in this country, his dastardly activities, tried to erase our name from the history, tried to keep only his name shining and try to ensure that other people are forgotten by the people in this country. Finally, justice has been done and I have got my due pleasure. And also, I started this difficult journey in 2010, hoping that the way I saved this country from the terrorism in the northeast, that I will save the country from the government terrorist action sponsored by the government in this country, which was keeping the people under pressure, which was ruining the country, which deprived the people of their rights and dues. Finally, I have won the battle.
General Sarath Fonseca lost everything after he contested the 2010 presidential election, seeking the people's mandate after providing leadership to end the 3-decade-long brutal civil war. Here's a look back at the life of General Sarath Fonseca.
The year 2009. The political arena in Sri Lanka was heating up as the presidential election was drawing closer. Attention was focused on a common candidate and all eyes were pointed at Chief of Defence Staff Sarath Fonseca. With the retirement of Sarath Fonseca as the CDS, the only serving 4-star general of the Sri Lanka Army, the talk of Sarath Fonseca's candidature to run for presidency reached a crescendo. The 29th of November 2009. Sarath Fonseca became the common candidate of many political parties, including the United National Party and the Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna.
මම ජනාධිපතිවරණයට පොදු අපේක්ෂකයා ලෙස ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා.
In a heated political atmosphere with many questions and counter-questions being raised, the presidential election of 2010 concluded with Fonseca ending up as the defeated candidate. Subsequent to his defeat, Fonseca was subjected to 2 court-martials and 2 civil cases were also filed against him. The first court-martial charged him with engaging in politics while serving in the military, while the second court-martial charged him with deviating from the normal procedure when acquiring arms for the military. The first court-martial and the second court-martial found Sarath Fonseca guilty on the 13th of August and the 17th of September 2010, respectively. Accordingly, he was stripped of his rank and medals and was sentenced to 2.5 years rigorous imprisonment. During this crucial time frame, Sarath Fonseca also lost his parliamentary seat on legal grounds. On the 21st of May 2012, Sarath Fonseca stepped out from his prison jumpsuit as a free man with a presidential pardon. The man who was once a presidential candidate, a decorated war hero who gave leadership to the army to save the country from the clutches of terrorism, is now truly a free man.
Defence Secretary BMUD Basnaika says that an investigation is underway with the Corporation of the Treasury into the allegation that public funds were deposited into an account maintained by his predecessor. He says an extensive investigation is underway into the transactions involving this account.
Finance Minister Ravi Karunanika recently revealed that action had been taken to bring funds amounting to close to 8 billion rupees in an account allegedly maintained by the former Defence Secretary at the Taprobane branch of Bank of Ceylon under the Treasury. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa later issued a statement refuting that the account was maintained by him, adding that the funds deposited there were from the sale of the land at Galle Face on which the Army headquarters were situated. He added that these funds were being used for the construction of the new Army headquarters complex in Battaramulla.
We have already discussed this matter with the Treasury to see whether we have done the correct thing, whether the appropriate procedure has been followed. If not, then we will have to discuss it with the Treasury to see what sort of arrangement that we need to do in future as far as the money is concerned. But I cannot say anything exactly now unless that these investigations are completed.
Defence Secretary BMUD Basnaika also spoke on the floating armoury maintained on board the ship Mahanuwara at the Galle harbour.
Now we have police department is investigating into it. So we are also, as a ministry, we are also supporting that investigation. We are providing all the information needed by them. But the point is this, we do not know how the ministry has issued a license for them. So there is a sort of agreement with them by the MOD, Ministry of Defence. But we now looking at the aspect whether it is legal or whether it's a legal activity or not. Then with the police department investigation, we will be able to find out the truth of it. In this regard also, we are now doing investigation and try to find the information.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna reiterated today that the true facts of these matters must be revealed to the public immediately.
This was an opportunity for the Sri Lankan government and those in the Sri Lanka Navy to earn a higher wage and bring an income to the country by working on this ship. But this opportunity was given to a private firm. Not only that, a private firm has been maintaining a large number of firearms on board this ship. When it was revealed, they claimed this was a betrayal similar to Millennium City. How is that possible? When a private firm is allowed to amass firearms and the power to provide security for ships internationally is taken away from the government and given to a private company, allowing them to amass wealth from it, they are calling it a Millennium City betrayal when the government reveals it. Do not even write about these things.
Millennium City warge maha pawadima.
At a media briefing held today, Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne revealed that the current Chief Justice has agreed following talks with the Prime Minister to step down from his position.
Minister, what about reinstating Shirali Bandaranaike?
That is not yet decided. Anyway, the Chief Justice has agreed to resign. He had agreed to the Prime Minister. Yesterday, the Prime Minister informed.
When is he resigning? In 2 years' time?
No, immediately.
The Friday Forum, as a group of citizens committed to the promotion of democracy, the rule of law and good governance in general, says it is deeply shocked by allegations made against the Chief Justice and more so by the lack of a response from him. Issuing a statement today, the group notes that if the allegations against the Chief Justice are true, it would further erode the independence and the national stature of the judiciary of Sri Lanka.
The Friday Forum states that members of the judiciary are expected to be very restrained in their relations, in particular with the executive, in order to maintain judicial independence. Furthermore, the group notes that participation in an attempt to overthrow the legitimate government or subvert the legitimate result of an election are serious offences under the law of Sri Lanka. Noting that while the alleged coup attempt is yet to be proved, the allegation about the Chief Justice's presence at Temple Trees alone seriously compromises the high office and calls into question his fitness to continue to hold this office. The Friday Forum states that it is not an acceptable explanation that the Chief Justice was called upon by the President to tender advice on the handing over of power, since that is not within the purview of the Chief Justice's functions or duties. The Friday Forum calls upon the Chief Justice to urgently address public concerns over the serious allegations made against him by either denying his presence at Temple Trees on the night of the presidential elections or else resigning from office so that the dignity of the judiciary is not irreparably damaged.
Still in local news, more information has come to light over the recent discovery of a car that was seized from a house in Piliandra. Now, the owner of the assembly plant in which the alleged car was assembled contacted Newsfirst today from Japan and revealed more information on this particular car.
It was on Sunday that this sports car was discovered hidden in a house down Ratnamawatha on the Aravala Bokunda road in Piliandala. At the time of the discovery, the number plates were not attached to the car. When the car was being taken away, a number plate was attached to the rear of the car. According to the police, the sports coupe in question was not registered with the Department of Motor Traffic.
That is one of our vehicles. It was assembled by Vehicles Lanka Private Limited and later sold. There are 90 vehicles which were sold that are facing an issue with registration. Because of the inability to register the vehicles, I have already filed a case with the Court of Appeal on this matter. This car in question is one of the 90 vehicles. An issue with the previous government and an issue with Mohan Piris led to this registration issue. So I am already in the process of seeking compensation for the losses incurred legally. I already have filed a case against Mohan Piris for 500 million rupees in damages. Notices have been issued. Permission was granted to assemble 2,250 vehicles for a period of 3 years. There is a Supreme Court order for this. That order is still applicable. In this backdrop, they are not registering the vehicles because of an order given by Mohan Piris. Mohan Piris has appeared as counsel for 2 of my cases before. However, because of his failures, a group of senior lawyers have banded together. Because I gave the cases to these senior lawyers, he had been enraged with me. From the very day he was made a cabinet advisor, he has been portraying a bad impression of my company. All that he does is fake. He had tampered with the date on a fake cabinet document. I have all the documents with me. I filed a case against the cabinet at the 403 courts. However, in court 502, my case was cast aside.
Meanwhile, last year, the JVP filed a complaint against the current chairman of the commission to investigate bribery and corruption, charging that he had obtained such an assembled vehicle.
There was a time in Sri Lanka where the vehicle smuggling business was taking place with the knowledge of the government. Automobiles are taken apart and imported to Sri Lanka and are assembled here. Later those budded vehicles are registered. Some were not registered. The case against the commissioner that we filed is that while he was a Supreme Court judge, the commissioner had taken a vehicle from amongst 143 vehicles against which a case was ongoing. What is clear through this is that this racket had been carried out in the clear presence of the law. Some of these budded vehicles were registered and some were not. This car that was seized from Piliandala is a part of this racket. This was not a registered vehicle. We have received word that a large number of such vehicles are moving about in the country.
Leader of the JVP, Anrukumar Disanayaka, says that a request will be made for the chairman of the commission to investigate allegations of bribery and corruption to step down from his position.
It is difficult to remove the chairman and 2 commissioners of the commission to investigate bribery and corruption. There is a certain parliamentary procedure that needs to be followed. However, the Director General of the commission can be sacked. Therefore, we are of the stance that the Director General be sacked and a new Director General be appointed. The National Executive Council passed this resolution. The name of the chairman is Balapata Bendi. We ask him to step down from his position so that the mechanism that investigates claims can be strengthened.
මේ අල්ලස් හෝ දූෂණ කොමිසම සභාව වෙත ඉදිරිපත් වන පැමිණිලි නිසියාකාරව විභාග කිරීම සඳහා මේ ආන්තරණය ශක්තිමත් කරන්න කියලා.
The chairman of the Bribery Commission, former Supreme Court Judge D.J. De Silva Balapatabendi, says that the commission to investigate bribery and corruption does not possess the required resources in order to carry out its duties. Speaking to News First, he said that they are able to investigate all cases that are reported via proper procedure.
In 2015, so far, we have opened 63 cases. We received 20 cases yesterday alone. Sometimes we get cases via email or via fax and we are unable to find the source. However, we do look into such cases and examine the accusations, the facts pertain to the case, if sufficient evidence has been presented, and if so, we take action on that day itself. We put the case up for investigation. This is difficult. If allegations are being brought against someone, then the allegations must include bribery or corruption. Sufficient details must be included. This is because when we do carry out investigations, we will reveal the accused persons and mudslinging is inevitable. This is a hit to their psychological state. It is sinful. So we must prevent the society from making such false accusations. We do not have sufficient staff members. We have a cadre of only about 300 investigative officers, and only half of them report for duty. So the legal officers have to attend these matters on the sidelines of attending court. We have only 16 legal officers.
The chairman stressed on the fact that the commission coming under his purview will not be influenced by any exterior force.
This is a completely free and independent commission. Our constitution has a clause that prevents interference by outsiders. This means that if anyone attempts to slay mud at the commission, we are able to bring legal action against such a person under clause 20. We have to abide by the constitution. It specifies on what instances we are allowed to carry out investigations. Thus, we cannot take any action against cases that do not comply with these requirements, whether someone forces us to do so or not.
National Executive Council member and JVP leader Anurakumara Dissanayake says that the council had decided to conduct an investigation into claims of an attempted coup on the night of the presidential election. Meanwhile, the CID questioned Western Provincial Councillor Udaya Gamanpila today regarding the matter.
අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ ක්‍රියාවලිය මේ වෙනකොට අවසන් වී යුතු තිබුණානේ.
The CID process will conclude soon. This was a treasonous conspiracy. In such a treasonous conspiracy, the intervention of the CID should have happened sooner. That is why we decided that this should be investigated under a senior Deputy Inspector General of Police who will soon be appointed the head of the Criminal Investigations Department.
පොලිස්පතිවරයෙක් ඔහු අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ ප්‍රධානිය බවට පත් වේවි. ඒ හරහා මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය මෙහෙවන්න අපි එකඟතාවයකට ආවා.
Meanwhile, Western Provincial Councillor Udaya Gamanpila spoke to the media today after he was questioned by the CID regarding the alleged coup attempt.
I was at Temple Trees that night. It is true. Professor G.L. Piris, the Defence Secretary, the Secretary to the President, the Governor of the Central Bank, Niwad Cabral, the Commanders of the Armed Forces, the IGP and Mahinda Balasurya, the Secretary to the Ministry of Law and Order, were all at Temple Trees at the President's committee room. There was a discussion held on whether a curfew should be imposed or not. The reasons that prompted this discussion on imposing a curfew was that the Chief Minister, who is on my right, had informed me that UNP activists had attempted to attack Councillor Saman Mali Sakalasuriya at a counting centre, and also because we had observed many tense situations in Colombo. So the immediate fear was that Alliance supporters faced a sudden defeat may be set upon by the supporters of the victorious faction, and that this would light a fire in the country and bring about more violence and have a damaging effect on the visit of the Pope. So the idea was put forward that curfew should be imposed to maintain peace in the country. At about 2:30 or 3 a.m., as per the results that had been released, we determined that we would lose the election and requested that arrangements be made so that the new president could be sworn in at a place and time of their choosing. At the same time, the only problem the president had was the safety of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and he held a telephone conversation with the then opposition leader and current Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe regarding this. That is what happened in the committee room. They specifically asked me this question. I have associated with the Chief Justice closely for over 20 years. There was a large group of people there. He did not speak with me. I cannot say for sure whether he was there or not. I cannot remember. UNP parliamentarian Palitha Thevara Peruma has been remanded until the 2nd of February. Now, the order was issued after he surrendered to police today and was produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrate.
Investigations were launched recently to arrest MP Palitha Thevara Peruma on several charges, including an incident where he had assaulted and made a Pradesha Sabha member kneel in Agalawatta. The parliamentarian surrendered to the Colombo Crimes Division this morning. After MP Thevara Peruma was arrested, he was produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrate, following which he was remanded until the 2nd of next month. The case is scheduled to be taken up once again on the 2nd of February at the Mathugama Magistrates Court.
He shot Chamila Ranasinghe in the head in Beruwala. Even though President Maithripala Sirisena won, there was no statement recorded. They attacked me in Alutgama and smashed up my vehicle. No statement has been recorded as yet. I went to save a man for good governance.
Meanwhile, Central Provincial Councillor Anuradha Jayaratna, who was arrested, was granted bail by the Gampala magistrate. He is charged of attacking and firing gunshots at an office of the New Democratic Front as well as intimidation during the run-up to the recently concluded presidential election.
One new cabinet minister, one minister of state and 4 deputy ministers to court before President Maithripala Sirisena today.
The presidential media unit said MHA Halim was sworn in as the Cabinet Minister of Muslim Religious Affairs and Post. T. Hassan Ali was sworn in as the Minister of State for Health. Meanwhile, Ranjan Ramanayaka took oaths as the Deputy Minister of Social Services, Welfare and Livestock Development. Vasanta Aluvihare was sworn in as the Deputy Minister of Mahavali Development and Environment. Amir Ali took oath as the Deputy Minister of Housing and Samurdhi, and Sharif Tawfiq was appointed the Deputy Minister of Internal Transport. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was also present at the Presidential Secretariat when the newly appointed ministers were sworn in before President Maithripala Sirisena.
The United People's Freedom Alliance says that they will not hinder the activities of the government despite holding a majority in Parliament. Meanwhile, the government says that they will hold elections subsequent to providing economic concessions and restructuring the constitution. Following the conclusion of yesterday's parliamentary session, several members of the government and the opposition expressed views on the present political situation.
There is ample possibility to end the rule of this government. If at all necessary, the opposition also holds the capability to acquire the post of Prime Minister. Likewise, we also hold the capability to make things worse for the government by defeating any bill. We hold the majority, but we have decided not to do so. We will let the government elected by the general public to continue with the agendas within the 100-day program. Some of those who try to destroy the Rajapaksa government after being nurtured by the regime having earned illegal money and are now inclined towards this faction to raise allegations against them, the Rajapaksas. So as a new government, we must be very careful when letting these malicious personalities cross over to our side, because the same fate might dawn upon us. I have been disgusted at the conduct of Mahinda Rajapaksa and Basil Rajapaksa since the inception. But as we were ministers under the regime, we couldn't raise these issues. I also wish for Maithripala Sirisena to be elected president of this country. It came to pass, and that's why I defeated Kalaniya.
මගේ ප්‍රාර්ථනාව තිබුණේ මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමා මේ රටේ ජනාධිපති වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා ඒක සිද්ධ වුණා. ඒක මම කැලණිය පැරැද්දුවේ.
The general public will have the opportunity to go into another poll after we restructure the constitution and facilitate an economic relief program. Following the election, the country will be able to elect an educated and well-cultured parliament.
Opposition leader Nimal Siripala de Silva says a program targeting the next election, which will go in line with the government's 100-day plan, will be implemented. He made this statement while assuming duties as the opposition leader.
Opposition leader Nimal Siripala de Silva and Chief Opposition Whip WDG Sinivaratna assumed their duties officially at the parliamentary complex today. President Maithripala Sirisena is the leader of our party. It is indeed a novel experience in Sri Lankan political history to serve in the capacity of opposition leader while the leader of the party is in fact the head of state. This is a tough task. We need to formulate our own 100-day program to face the upcoming general election. We need to start this process from tomorrow.
The Federation of University Teachers Associations, or FUTA, says that the chairperson of the University Grants Commission must, with immediate effect, resign from her position.
විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ප්‍රතිපාදන කොමිෂන් සභාවේ සභාපතිතුමිය ගේ පත්වීම.
The appointment of the chairperson of the University Grants Commission was not something which was done based on qualification. Not only was it a political appointment, it was clearly a misuse of the previous government's leadership for their own political campaigning, which happened during elections. The Federation of University Teachers Association had taken a stern decision that it is not ready to see the administration of the university system under this chairperson. So there is no interim agreement on this matter. She has to resign from her position immediately. If not, the relevant officials must take a decision on it. We will not hesitate to launch any trade union action. We will launch one tomorrow if need be.
The Minister of State for Higher Education, Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe, convened a media briefing today.
If there are allegations, send it to me in writing. I have told her that this was a massive mistake. If we are to remove all those who are under duress, we will have to remove everyone. Our duty is to ensure rules and regulations so that this does not happen in the future.
If they are saying it was politicized, then they must realize that I also appointed people from the Federation of University Teachers Association as deans when I was the Vice Chancellor. Some people were made professors while I was the UGC chair.
Can I suggest this is not about defending yourself for what you've done. It's the principle. So I think I better handle the press conference. Okay? Thank you. මිනිස්සු එතුමිය විරුද්ධව එයා හිතන හැටියට බොරු චෝදනා කියනවා නම් ඒක ගැන පියවර ගන්න පුළුවන්. ගාර්මන්ට් මන්ත්‍රී නාමල් රාජපක්ෂගේ විද්‍යාවකට විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ප්‍රවේශයකට අයදුම් නොකර දරුවෙක් දැම්මම විශ්වවිද්‍යාලේ. නෑ මම ඒ කතාව දන්නවා. ඒක විශේෂයෙන් මෙතුමේකට වාතාවක් ලියලා තියෙනවානේ. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කළා. ඉතින් ඒක බලන්න ඕනේ පැහැදිලි ලෙස ඒකේ ප්‍රශ්න. මම ලිඛිතව දීලා තියෙනවා ඒ ගැන හොයලා බලන්න කියලා. මොකද? මම ලිඛිතව දරුවෙකුට දුන්නා ඒ ගැන හොයලා බලන්න කියලා. මං කියන්නේ ඒක වාතාව තියනවද? වාතාව තියෙනවා. ඒ වාතාව මේගොල්ලන්ට දෙන්නද? පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට වාතාව අපි දීලා තියෙනවා. නෑ ඒ වාතාව තියනවද මෙතන? කොපි එකක් දෙන්න මම. කොපි එකක් දෙන්න. මං ඒක සම්පූර්ණ අයිතියක් තියෙනවා නෑ නේ. ඒ බරපතල ප්‍රශ්නයක්. හැබැයි මට තියෙන විශේෂ තරහක්. මොකද? මට තියෙන විශේෂ තරහක්. නෑ.
No, even we must accept mistakes that are made. Some mistakes are not even accepted as mistakes. If it is a mistake, I will look into it. People make mistakes, but they must accept the mistakes that are made.
මිනිස්සු වැරදි කරනවා. හැබැයි වැරදි කරනකොට පිළිගන්න ඕනේ වැරද්දක් කළා කියලා. මම මේක බලලා තියෙනකොට මට පේන විදියට ඇත්තට මේක හරියට කරලා තියෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ ලීඩර්ෂිප් එක ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් කරන්නේ. අනිත් ගමන් ලීඩර්ෂිප් කියන එක නෑ මම බලනකොට පාඨමාලාව ළමයින්ට උඩ පනින්න තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
Minister of Housing and Samurdhi Sajid Premadasa called on the president of the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement, Dr. A.T. Aryaratne, this morning.
Minister Sajid Premadasa, who arrived at the Sarvodaya Shramadana headquarters in Moratuwa this morning, met with Dr. A.T. Aryaratne and discussed their future course of action.
Over the past 5 years, the government treated us very badly. They did not respond to any of our letters. We were left helpless. Around 300 employees worked at this headquarters, and now we are down to 59. But we did not go to quarrel with anyone about it. We waited silently, and now we are happy about this change.
Thereafter, Dr. Aryaratne presented a proposal to Minister Sajid Premadasa for a new phase to the Jana Sevana housing scheme.
We hope to establish an era which will provide homes to those living difficult lives in our country by joining hands with the dedication and leadership of the Sarvodaya movement, and to bring a smile on the faces of the people by transforming the housing system in the country and eradicating poverty through creating multi-communal movements.
The Anglican Consultative Council's Standing Committee has said that they will review the statement made by the former Anglican Bishop of Kurunegala, the Right Reverend Greg Shantakumar Francis, with regards to the council catering to the needs of the diaspora. Issuing a communique, Bishop of Colombo Right Reverend Diloraj Kangasabi said that they do not do so.
The communique states that the Anglican Consultative Council is a national religious society that functions independently with no influence from any party. It shows that the Anglican Consultative Council Standing Committee carries out its duties in line with the conscience of the Catholic community in mind. Meanwhile, issuing a joint communique, the Anglican Consultative Council and Right Reverend Diloraj R. Kanagasabe states that the Metropolitan of the Church of Ceylon has accepted the resignation tendered by the Bishop of Kurunegala, Right Reverend Greg Shantakumar Francis, with effect from the 31st of January 2015.
Intercompany Employees Union has requested from the government to take steps pertaining to the amendments on increasing wages of the private sector, the gazetting of the cost of living and the permanent employee status of manpower employees through the next budget. The Intercompany Employees Union made these three requests from the government at a press conference convened in Colombo today.
Amend Act number 36 of 2005 pertaining to budget concessions and amend the law for relative wage increase for public servants. The unit price of the Colombo Consumer Price Index, for which the base says 2006 and 7, is 280 rupees. Mention that it is 280 in a gazette notice, so that the cost of living allowance will increase in line with the increase in prices of goods. Stop this labour mafia that is operating through manpower agencies. Enact laws to make all contract and casual employees who have come through manpower agencies and have completed 180 days of service permanent.
Views were also expressed on the absence of a separate labour minister under the new government.
There is no labour minister. That portfolio comes under the Justice Ministry now. Immediate steps must be taken to re-establish the Labour Ministry, which was able to intervene directly in the problems and wage problems of private sector and semi-private sector employees. The former government was sent packing because of the things it did not do. We have presented several problems which this government must discuss expeditiously within their 100-day program. If we have to poke ourselves in the eye once again, then I wish to remind this government that Rajapaksa came into power in 2010 with the intention of staying for 25 years and he was defeated in 4. The same will happen to them. If they do not turn their attention towards the problems being faced by the working people, then they may have to leave within 3 months.
PE Plus Private Limited, a subsidiary company of the Capital Maharaj Organization Limited, has launched their new PE Plus Hardware Solutions product range. The launch took place at Stein Studios in Ratmalana and also saw the participation of officials from the Capital Maharaj Organization Limited, PE Plus sales representatives and others. A range of new products for several sectors, including the construction and industrial sectors, were introduced at the launch today. What is most significant here is that a new engineering concept which goes beyond the traditional system has been introduced. We also hold the rights and patents for the products that we introduce to the markets.
We are not just a team, we are a family. We've always built brands based on this family relationship. So a few years back, Eslon PE Plus was a child which was born. And when they grow up, they get an identity of their own. So Eslon PE Plus has now grown up. And now it's able to stand on its own legs as PE Plus.
Sales representatives with the highest sales record over the past year were felicitated at this event. United National Party parliamentarian Buddhika Pathirana attended an event in Mathura today.
This event was held to distribute nutrition packets for undernourished children in the Thihagoda area in Mathura.
For the government to work via the treasury is not much of a skill. Even if this government was a blue government, that must be done. The same principle applies if it was a green government. It must be done without any thievery. It is the people's money in the treasury. Stealing money from the treasury is just as equal as stealing before going to the temple. It is a grave crime, but this relief that is being given is not from the money of the government. It is the money given by local and foreign tourists based on the trust placed in us, as well as from Sri Lankans based abroad. That's the difference.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Sandra Ferdinando.
Take care and good night.